Okay, let's go.
All right, today we are jumping into a book that, for many, completely changes the game. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And the big idea is this. If you want to be a consistently successful trader, it's got less to do with the charts and everything to do with what's going on in your head.
So let's kick things off with a huge puzzle Douglas throws at us. You see this all the time, right? Doctors, lawyers, engineers, successful business owners, people who are incredibly smart and at the top of their game, they step into the market and just get crushed. How does that happen? If they're so bright, why does none of that success carry over into trading?
And this quote right here is the answer. It's a tough pill to swallow, but Douglas argues that the very things that made you successful in your career, needing to be right, avoiding failure, controlling every little outcome, are your worst enemies in the market. Those strengths actually become massive weaknesses when you're trading.
Okay, so if being a brilliant analyst isn't the key, what is? Well, this is where we make a huge shift. We've got to stop staring so hard at the market and start looking inward at our own mindset.
This really splits traders into two different worlds. You have the typical trader who's stuck on this endless treadmill, always looking for that one perfect system, totally obsessed with predicting what's going to happen next. And then you have the pros. They're playing a completely different game. Their focus isn't out there, it's in here. They're managing your own psychology, their own emotions, and they're thinking in probabilities, not predictions.
Let's get one thing straight. The market isn't out to get you. It doesn't know you exist. It's completely neutral. It's just a stream of information. All that pain, the frustration, the bad decisions, that's not the market's fault. It's coming from what Douglas calls faulty trading attitudes. It's an inside job.
And this internal game is where the real battle is. Douglas doesn't just talk vaguely about emotions. He pinpoints the 4 specific fears that are the root cause of almost every single trading mistake you can make.
And here they are. First, the fear of being wrong. Oof, our ego just hates that one, doesn't it? Second, the fear of losing money. Pretty self-explanatory. Third, that classic fear of missing out, FOMO, that makes us chase prices. And fourth, the fear of leaving money on the table, which makes us greedy and messes with our exits. I bet at least one of those sounds painfully familiar.
So, how big of a deal are these fears? Well, according to Douglas, they're responsible for about 95% of your trading errors. Let that sink in. 95%. Pretty much every time you jump in too early, hold a loser too long, or get out too soon, you can trace it right back to one of these 4 fears.
Okay, so that's the problem. How in the world do we fix it? Douglas gives us this incredibly powerful way to reframe everything. He says you have to stop thinking like a gambler at the table and start thinking like the casino.
Before we do that, we have to get really clear on what an edge actually is. It is not a crystal ball. It is not a guarantee that this next trade will be a winner. An edge is simply a statistical reality that over a large sample size of trades, there's a higher chance of one thing happening than another. That is it.
And this is the night and day difference in mindset. The gambler is emotionally invested in every single roll of the dice, every single trade. Their whole world rises and falls with that one outcome. The casino? They couldn't care less about any single spin of the roulette wheel. Why? Because they know they have a small edge. And over thousands of spins, that edge guarantees they will come out ahead. They are completely mechanical and emotionally detached.
So to build this casino mindset for yourself, Douglas lays out 5 fundamental truths about the market. And these aren't just neat ideas to think about. He says you have to integrate them so deeply that they become your core beliefs. All right, let's run through them. Number 1, anything can happen. Seriously, anything. Your perfect A+ setup can fail. Number 2, you don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money. As long as you have an edge, the outcome of any one trade is irrelevant. Number 3, wins and losses are randomly distributed. You could have 5 losses in a row and it means nothing about your edge. Number 4, an edge is just a probability, never a certainty. And number 5, every moment is unique. A chart pattern might look the same, but the people behind it are different every time, so the outcome is never guaranteed. Now here's the magic. When you really truly accept these 5 truths, like deep down in your bones, the emotional risk of trading just vanishes. Why? Because your expectations are now perfectly aligned with reality. You no longer expect to be right every time. You don't expect the market to do anything. You're just there to execute your edge, and without those expectations, fear has nothing to grab onto.
And where does all of this lead? It leads to the one thing every trader is chasing: real, lasting consistency. This line right here basically sums up the entire book. We spend so much time and money looking for consistency out there, in new indicators, in complex systems, in the charts themselves. But Douglas is telling us we've been looking in the wrong place all along. The only place you will ever find it is inside your own mind.
The ultimate goal, the end game, is to reach what he calls a carefree state of mind. Now, carefree does not mean careless. It's the opposite. It means you've so fully and completely accepted the risks of trading that fear just doesn't affect you anymore. You can see the market for what it is and execute your plan without hesitation, without an internal battle raging inside you.
So I leave you with this. When you really look at how you approach the markets, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, you have to ask yourself, who are you being? Are you the emotional gambler, hanging on every tick, just hoping this next one's a winner? Or are you the casino, calm, detached, just playing the probabilities, knowing that over time, your edge will play out? Because the answer to that question, well, it determines everything.